She pulled a bleeding pregnant wolf out of a frozen ravine and thought she had saved an animal. Seconds later, the most feared alpha king in the kingdom appeared with hundreds of wolves. Then something impossible happened. The king's beast knelt before the poor healer and refused to leave her side. The injured wolf transformed into the missing queen. And with her dying breath, she placed a newborn prince into Elara's arms and whispered, "Protect my son." By sunrise, the entire kingdom believed Elara had kidnapped the royal heir. Hunted by the Alpha King and carrying a secret baby that could change the fate of the kingdom, she vanished into the snow. But 12 years later she returned. Not as a poor healer. As a powerful queen. And the hidden prince standing beside her looked exactly like the Alpha King. The scream rose from the depths of the ravine like the cry of a dying soul. Elara stopped in the middle of the snowy path. The basket of herbs in her hands slipped a little. For a moment she thought the wind was playing tricks on her. Then the scream came again. Long, broken, full of pain. She looked toward the dark ravine beside the forest. Snow fell heavily around her. The sky was turning black and the storm was growing stronger. The villagers walking behind her immediately froze. An old woman grabbed Elara's arm. "Do not go there." Another man shook his head. "Whatever is down there is cursed." The cry echoed again. This time it sounded weaker. As if the creature no longer had the strength to beg for help. Elara slowly pulled her arm away. She had heard that kind of sound before. Years ago her mother had made the same cry while lying sick in their little cottage. Nobody had come to help. Nobody. She could never forget it. "I have to look," she said softly. The villagers stared at her like she had lost her mind. The old woman stepped in front of her. "You will die." Elara looked toward the ravine again. Another weak cry floated upward. Then silence. Her heart twisted. Without another word she walked toward the edge. The wind roared around her. Snowflakes hit her face. She carefully looked down. Then she forgot how to breathe. A giant white wolf lay at the bottom of the ravine. Blood covered its side. Its white fur was stained red. One of its legs was trapped beneath a broken branch. But that was not what shocked her. The wolf was pregnant. Its swollen belly rose and fell with painful breaths. The animal slowly lifted its head. Its blue eyes met hers. And tears rolled down its face. Elara felt her chest tighten. Animals did not cry like that. Those eyes looked almost human. Behind her the villagers gasped. One man suddenly turned pale. "I know that wolf." "What do you mean?" someone asked. The man swallowed hard. "That is the king's white wolf." The world seemed to stop. Everyone knew the story. The Alpha King had a beautiful white wolf that never left his side. It was said that if anyone harmed that wolf they would be hunted to the ends of the earth. Fear spread through the villagers. A woman grabbed her children and backed away. Another man crossed himself. "Leave it there. Do not touch it. The king will kill us." But the white wolf looked at Elara again. Its eyes were full of pain and fear. A soft whimper escaped its mouth. That sound made her decision. She handed her basket to the old woman. Then she began climbing down. The villagers shouted in horror. "Elara, come back. You are mad. The rocks are slippery." She ignored them all. The snow made every step dangerous. Her boots slipped. Small stones rolled into the darkness below. The cold wind pushed against her. Halfway down she nearly lost her footing. Her body leaned forward. For one terrible second she thought she would fall. Then she grabbed a tree root and steadied herself. Her heart pounded. The white wolf watched her the entire time. Finally she reached the bottom. The animal tried to move. A low growl came from its throat. Then it stopped, as if it somehow knew she meant no harm. Elara slowly knelt beside it. "You are safe." The wolf's ears twitched. "You poor thing." She carefully touched its injured leg. The animal cried softly. The wound was deep. Far too deep to be caused by a fall. This wolf had been attacked. Someone had tried to kill it. The thought sent a chill through her. She removed her blue cloak and placed it over the trembling animal. The wolf closed its eyes. For a moment it looked relieved. Then suddenly the ground shook. A deep howl echoed through the mountains. The sound was so powerful that snow fell from the trees. Every villager above screamed. Another howl followed, closer this time. Then another. And another. The forest came alive. Growls filled the air. Branches snapped. Dark shapes appeared among the trees. Wolves, dozens of them. Well, hundreds. They surrounded the ravine from every side. Their glowing eyes stared downward. Elara's blood turned cold. Then the wolves moved apart. A massive black wolf stepped forward. It was bigger than any wolf she had ever seen. Its fur looked like midnight. Its golden eyes burned like fire. The creature looked ancient, powerful, terrifying. The Alpha King's beast. Silence covered the mountain. Even the wind seemed afraid. The black wolf looked directly at Elara. Its eyes narrowed. The villagers above dropped to their knees. Some began crying. Then a tall man walked through the wolves. Long black hair moved in the storm. A black cloak covered broad shoulders. Golden eyes shone beneath thick dark brows. His face was handsome but hard as stone. Alpha King Kale Draven had arrived. The stories had not done him justice. He looked like a king born from darkness itself. His gaze settled on Elara, then on the white wolf. Fear flashed across his face. Only for a moment, then it disappeared. He stepped toward the edge of the ravine. No one spoke. No one dared. Elara slowly stood. She expected anger. She expected death. Instead the king looked at her with confusion. The black wolf suddenly climbed down into the ravine. Its enormous body landed softly on the snow. It walked straight toward Elara. She could hear her own heartbeat. The beast stopped in front of her. Its golden eyes searched her face. Then something impossible happened. The mighty black wolf lowered its head before her and sat beside her feet. A shocked cry came from above. One villager fainted. Another whispered a prayer. Even the Alpha King looked stunned. The black wolf refused to move. It remained beside Elara like a loyal guard. The white wolf lifted its head. Its blue eyes filled with tears again. Then it gently placed its nose against Elara's hand. At that exact moment a burning pain spread across her wrist. She gasped. A silver mark appeared on her skin. A crescent moon. Glowing softly. The Alpha King's face changed. For the first time since arriving he looked completely shaken. He stared at the mark. Then at her. As if he had seen a ghost. The storm grew stronger. Snow swirled around them. The white wolf suddenly cried out in pain. His body began to tremble. Silver light spread across its fur. Elara stepped back in shock. The light became brighter. Brighter. Then the wolf changed. Fur disappeared. Bones shifted. The huge animal was gone. In its place lay a beautiful woman with long white hair and frightened blue eyes. And beneath her hands was a swollen pregnant belly. Queen. The missing queen of the kingdom. She looked up at Elara. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Then she whispered words that made every hair on Elara's body stand up. Please save my child. The world seemed to freeze. Snow drifted through the air in slow white circles. Elara stared at the woman lying before her. The missing queen. The pregnant queen. The woman everyone in the kingdom had been searching for. Queen Celine's face was pale. Her white hair spread across the snow like silk. She looked exhausted and frightened. Then she spoke again. Please save my child. Her voice trembled. Not with fear for herself, but for the life growing inside her. Elara quickly knelt beside her. You are hurt. We need to stop the bleeding. Celine grabbed her wrist. Her fingers were cold. There is no time. Alpha King Kale finally climbed into the ravine. The powerful ruler dropped to his knees beside his mate. Celine. For the first time his voice cracked. He touched her face as if afraid she would disappear. Tears filled the queen's eyes. I thought I would never see you again. You will not leave me. His words were hard and desperate. I will take you home. At once the queen's expression changed. Fear flashed across her face. No, Kale frowned. No, we cannot go back. Silence settled over the ravine. The king's golden eyes narrowed. Who did this to you? Celine slowly looked around. At the wolves. At the villagers above. The dark forest. Then she whispered. I do not know who I can trust. Those words hit Kale like a blow. His face became still. Too still. You trust me. I trust you with my life, she said softly. But someone close to us wants our child dead. The wind howled. Elara felt a chill run down her spine. Someone inside the palace. Someone powerful enough to attack the queen. Someone who had nearly killed the future heir. Kale's hands curled into fists. Tell me who. Tears slid down Celine's cheeks. I never saw the face. The king looked away for a moment. Anger rolled from him like a storm. Even the wolves stepped back. Then Celine turned toward Elara. Those blue eyes held a strange warmth. You saved me. Elara swallowed. I only did what anyone should do. No. Celine shook her head weakly. Most people would have walked away. The queen looked at the silver mark on Elara's wrist. Her eyes widened. She touched it gently. You have this mark. Elara looked down. It still glowed softly. Do you know what it means? Before Celine could answer, a sharp sound sliced through the air. A whistle. Kale moved instantly. An arrow flew out of the darkness. The king caught it with his hand. The black shaft trembled in his grip. Everyone froze. Then another arrow came. And another. The attack had begun. Protect the queen. Kale roared. The wolves exploded into motion. Dark shapes leaped toward the trees. Men in black cloaks emerged from the forest. Their faces were hidden. Their swords flashed in the snow. The villagers screamed and ran. One assassin jumped into the ravine. Another followed. Kale's eyes turned bright gold. A low growl came from his chest. Then he changed. Bones cracked. Muscles expanded. Within seconds, a giant black wolf stood where the king had been. He attacked. The first assassin never had time to scream. The second man was thrown into the rocks. Chaos filled the ravine. Steel clashed. Wolves growled. Snow turned red. Elara shielded the queen with her body. Celine suddenly grabbed her hand. Listen to me. What? If I die tonight, you must take my child. Elara stared at her. No. You are going to live. The queen's eyes filled with sadness. You do not understand. I cannot take your baby. You must. Another scream echoed nearby. A wolf crashed into an assassin. The battle raged around them. Celine's grip tightened. There are secrets hidden in this kingdom. Terrible secrets. What secrets? The queen looked toward Kale. Her voice became little more than a whisper. My son cannot stay in the palace. Elara could barely breathe. Why? Because the people hunting me are waiting there. Suddenly a man in black appeared above them. He raised his sword. Elara did not think. She grabbed a broken branch and struck him. The man fell backward. A wolf tore him away a second later. Celine looked at her in amazement. You are brave. Elara gave a shaky laugh. I am terrified. The queen almost smiled. Then pain crossed her face. She clutched her stomach. A soft cry escaped her lips. Kale immediately returned to her side. Celine. The baby. Fear entered his eyes. It is too early. She nodded. Another pain struck. Her breathing became uneven. The child was coming. Here. In the middle of a snowy ravine. Kale looked completely helpless. He had faced wars and monsters. But now he looked like a frightened man. He turned to Elara. Can you help her? She nodded quickly. I have delivered babies before. The king grabbed her shoulders. Save them. The plea in his voice shocked her. This feared ruler would burn kingdoms for the woman before him. And now he was begging. Elara placed her hands over the queen's. You need warmth. The wolves quickly formed a circle around them. Their large bodies blocked the wind. Snow continued to fall. The queen's face twisted in pain. She looked at Elara again. There is something else. You should rest. No. You need to know. Her hand trembled as she touched the silver mark on Elara's wrist. This mark belongs to a lost bloodline. Elara frowned. I do not understand. You will. What do you mean? Celine's blue eyes filled with a strange sadness. You were never meant to remain hidden. Before Elara could ask another question, a terrible howl came from the forest. Every wolf became still. Even Kale's head snapped upward. A rider appeared on the hill above. A woman dressed in black. Her face remained hidden beneath a hood. She watched the ravine for only a moment. Then she turned her horse and disappeared into the storm. Celine's entire body shook. No. Kale looked at her. What is it? The queen's face turned white. She found me. Who? Celine looked straight into his eyes. Then she whispered the words that changed everything. Trust no one. At that exact moment another wave of pain hit her. And the queen screamed. Queen Celine's scream echoed through the ravine. The sound cut through the storm and silenced everyone. The wolves became restless. Even the fierce black beast beside her lowered its head in fear. Kale changed back into his human form and dropped beside his mate. Snow clung to his dark hair. His hands trembled as he touched her face. Stay with me. Celine's breathing became uneven. She gripped his arm so tightly that her knuckles turned white. The baby is coming. No. Kale shook his head. It is too soon. Another cry escaped her lips. Elara pressed her hand gently against the queen's stomach. The child was coming. There was no stopping it. She looked at the king. We need shelter. Kale immediately lifted Celine into his arms. Without another word he carried her out of the ravine. The wolves surrounded them. The storm seemed darker now, more dangerous, as if something terrible was waiting in the night. A small hunting cabin stood at the edge of the forest. The villagers often used it during winter. Kale kicked the door open. Inside was darkness and dust. But it was warm. It would have to do. He placed Celine carefully on the bed. Elara quickly lit the fireplace. The flames danced across the room. Shadows moved along the wooden walls. The queen looked exhausted. She was losing too much blood. Outside the wolves stood guard. No one would enter without facing the Alpha King's fury. Yet Celine still looked afraid. She turned her head toward Elara. Come closer. Elara knelt beside her. The queen's fingers wrapped around hers. You have kind eyes. Elara blinked. What? You remind me of someone. A sad smile touched Celine's lips. My mother had eyes like yours. The words warmed Elara's heart. She had never known her own mother well. The memories were faint. Gentle voice. Warm hands. A song in the dark. That was all. Celine looked toward Kale. If anything happens to me, you must listen carefully. Nothing will happen. Kale's voice sounded rough. The queen slowly shook her head. I can feel it. Silence filled the cabin. Even the fire seemed to grow quiet. Then Celine looked back at Elara. Promise me something. What is it? If my child survives tonight, you must protect him. Elara's breath caught. You should not speak like this. Promise me. Tears filled the queen's eyes. Elara could not understand why this woman trusted her. A poor village healer. Stranger. Yet the queen looked at her as though she had known her forever. I promise. Relief softened Celine's face. Then another pain struck. She cried out. The labor had begun. Hours passed. Snow continued to fall outside. The wind screamed around the cabin. Inside the small room everything became a blur. Pain. Blood. Fear. Kale never left his mate's side. He held her hand, wiped her tears, whispered words only she could hear. The mighty Alpha King looked broken. And then it happened. A baby's cry filled the room. The sound was small, weak, beautiful. Elara carefully lifted the child. Boy. Tiny boy with dark hair. The future prince. The future king. Tears slipped down Kale's face. He looked at his son as if he had been given the world. Celine smiled. For a brief moment she looked peaceful. He's beautiful. Kale kissed her forehead. We have our son. The queen slowly reached out. Elara placed the baby in her arms. Celine held him close. Tears rolled down her cheeks. My little prince. The child opened his tiny eyes. Golden. The same as his father. A soft laugh escaped her. Then she looked at Elara. Something in her expression changed. Fear returned. Terrible fear. Take him. Elara frowned. What? Take him now. Kale looked up sharply. Celine. They are coming. The room became silent. Who is coming? Elara asked. The ones who killed me. You are alive. The queen slowly shook her head. No. The single word sent a chill through the room. She looked at her husband. They poisoned me. Kale's face lost all color. No. I felt it days ago. He grabbed her hand. You are going to recover. A tear rolled down her cheek. I wish I could. The fire crackled softly. The baby began to cry. Celine looked at him one last time. Then she placed him in Elara's arms. You promised. Elara held the child against her chest. Her heart pounded. I cannot take your son. You must. Kale stood. Enough. The queen looked at him with endless love. I am sorry. No. His voice broke. Do not leave me. She touched his face. You were the greatest joy of my life. The king dropped to his knees. For the first time the feared ruler looked completely helpless. I need you. Her fingers trembled. And he needs you. Then she looked at Elara. Run. The cabin door suddenly burst open. A wolf crashed through it. Blood covered its fur. It had been guarding outside. The animal collapsed. Another howl echoed in the darkness. Then another. Not Kale's wolves. Different wolves. Enemy wolves. The attack had begun. Kale's face turned deadly. He changed instantly. The huge black beast roared. The sound shook the cabin. Wolves rushed outside. The battle exploded. Growls and screams filled the night. Elara clutched the baby. Fear gripped her heart. Celine looked toward the door. They came. Then she looked at Elara one last time. Go. The queen's hand suddenly slipped from the blanket. Her eyes closed. Celine. No answer. Celine. Silence. The baby cried. The fire crackled. The queen did not move. The Alpha King's howl shattered the night. Sound of pure agony. Elara felt tears spill down her face. The queen was gone. The cabin door opened again. Commander Darius rushed inside. Blood covered his sword. Your Majesty, we have to leave now. Kale remained beside his mate. He looked like a man turned to stone. Darius looked at Elara. Then at the baby in her arms. His eyes widened. The prince. Another scream came from outside. The enemy was getting closer. Darius grabbed Elara's arm. You have to go. What? They cannot find the child. I cannot leave the king. You must. He quickly pulled a small necklace from beneath his armor. A silver moon pendant. He placed it in her hand. If you want this child to live, take him and run east. Why are you helping me? Darius looked at her strangely, as though he knew something she did not. Because fate has finally found you. Before she could ask another question, a shadow appeared in the doorway. A wounded guard. His face was pale. He looked at the king, then at Elara, and whispered the words that changed everything. The palace believes you have kidnapped the prince. The words struck the room like lightning. The palace believes you have kidnapped the prince. Elara stood frozen. The baby stirred in her arms and let out a soft cry. No, she whispered. The wounded guard looked terrified. The news spread before we arrived. Someone sent a message to the capital. Commander Darius cursed under his breath. How could they know? The guard shook his head. I do not know. Outside the battle grew louder. Wolves howled. Men screamed. Steel crashed against steel. The enemy was getting closer. Darius grabbed Elara's shoulders. Listen to me. If they think you stole the prince, then they will hunt you. I did nothing. I know. I cannot leave. You must. Another howl echoed outside. Cabin shook. Darius looked toward the door and then back at her. The child is in danger. Elara looked down at the tiny boy. His small fingers curled around the edge of her cloak. He looked so helpless, so innocent. The queen's final words echoed inside her mind. Protect my son. Tears filled her eyes. She looked at Kale. The king still knelt beside his dead mate. He had not moved. He looked like a man whose soul had been torn from his body. The sight broke her heart. Then his golden eyes slowly lifted. They settled on the child. For one terrible moment Elara thought he would take the prince and end all this. Instead he looked at her. And something strange passed through his eyes. Confusion. Fear. Then the cabin door burst open again. One of the king's warriors stumbled inside. Blood covered his face. Your Majesty. Hill stood. The room seemed to darken around him. Speak. The enemy is retreating. Darius frowned. Retreating. The warrior nodded. It makes no sense. Kale's expression hardened. The attack had only one purpose. To distract them. To create chaos. Then he looked at Elara and the child. Understanding flashed across his face. Someone wanted the prince to disappear. Someone wanted the blame to fall on her. A dangerous silence filled the room. Then another voice came from outside. Frightened voice. The prince is gone. More voices followed. Find the healer. She took him. Everything happened at once. Darius turned pale. They are already coming. Elara's heart hammered. She had never stolen anything in her life. Yet now an entire kingdom would call her a kidnapper. The baby began to cry louder. Kale looked at him. Then at the dead queen. The grief in his eyes became unbearable. Finally he spoke. Take the child and go. Elara stared at him. What? Run. You believe I took him? His face tightened. I do not know what to believe. Those words hurt more than they should have. A few hours ago she had saved his mate. Now he looked at her like a stranger. Like a threat. The pain on his face was real. But so was his doubt. Darius stepped forward. Your Majesty. If she stays they will kill her. Kale said quietly. Silence filled the room. The king looked at the child one last time. Then he turned away. He could not even bear to watch his son leave. Elara felt tears burn her eyes. The queen had trusted her. Now the king had no choice but to let her disappear into the night. She adjusted the baby in her arms. I swear to you I will protect him. Kale closed his eyes. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he whispered. Go before I change my mind. Darius opened the back door. The storm rushed inside. Snow swirled around them. Elara looked at the king one final time. He never turned around. So she stepped into the darkness. The forest swallowed her. The cold wind bit her skin. The baby slept against her chest. Darius led her through the trees. They moved quickly. Far behind them angry voices filled the mountain. The hunt had already begun. After an hour they reached a narrow path. Several horses waited there. Darius handed her a thick cloak. You must ride east. Where will I go? There is an old monastery beyond the mountains. Why there? No one knows it exists. She looked at him. You keep helping me. Why? For a long moment he did not answer. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out the silver moon pendant. The same pendant he had given her earlier. He turned it over. A symbol was carved into the back. A crescent moon surrounded by stars. The moment Elara saw it, something strange happened. Her wrist burned. The silver mark glowed. Darius stared at it. A look of shock crossed his face. It is true. What is true? He took a deep breath. Years ago I served another kingdom. Elara frowned. The Moon Kingdom. The name meant nothing to her. It was destroyed before you were old enough to remember. A strange feeling settled inside her chest. Darius looked directly into her eyes. The royal family had a daughter. Snow drifted between them. She vanished the night the kingdom burned. Elara could hear her own heartbeat. What does that have to do with me? He lifted the pendant. This belonged to that princess. Silence. The world suddenly felt unreal. No. The mark on your wrist belongs to the Moon bloodline. She stepped back. No. Darius's voice softened. I think you are that lost princess. The words stole her breath. Princess. Impossible. She had spent her entire life gathering herbs and treating sick villagers. No crown. No palace. No family. Nothing. The baby stirred in her arms. Darius stepped closer. You are in more danger than you realize. Why? Because if the people hunting the prince discover who you are, they will never stop chasing you. The wind howled through the trees. Elara looked at the child. Then at the glowing mark on her wrist. Everything she thought she knew about herself was falling apart. Who am I? She whispered. Darius looked at her sadly. I do not know. A distant horn echoed through the forest. The search party. They were close. Darius quickly helped her onto one of the horses. You must leave now. What about you? I will return to the king. Will you tell him? He looked toward the dark mountains. Not yet. Elara tightened her hold on the baby. Will I ever come back? Darius gave a small sad smile. Fate has strange plans. Then he stepped back. Go. She looked at the sleeping child one last time. Then she urged the horse forward. The animal disappeared into the snowy darkness. Behind her the kingdom she knew faded away. Ahead of her lay only mystery. And somewhere beyond the mountains waited the truth about who she really was. As dawn slowly touched the sky, the silver pendant hanging around her neck began to glow. Then a soft female voice whispered inside her mind. Come home, princess. The voice vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. Come home, princess. Elara pulled the horse to a stop. Her breath came in short bursts. The mountains around her were silent. Only the wind moved through the trees. She looked around. No one was there. The baby slept peacefully against her chest. For a moment she wondered if exhaustion had made her imagine the voice. Then the silver pendant around her neck glowed again. Soft pale light. It lasted only a second. But it was enough. Fear and curiosity twisted together inside her. She urged the horse forward. By sunrise she reached the old monastery that Darius had spoken of. It stood high on a rocky hill. Ancient stone walls. Broken towers. A place forgotten by the world. An old woman opened the wooden gate. Her long gray hair moved in the cold morning wind. But her eyes were sharp and bright. She looked at Elara. Then at the child. Then at the glowing pendant. The old woman slowly bowed. Welcome home, princess. Elara nearly fell from the horse. You know me. The old woman smiled softly. I have been waiting for you for many years. The world seemed to tilt beneath Elara's feet. The old woman stepped aside. Come inside. The child needs warmth. Too tired to argue, Elara entered. The monastery looked abandoned from outside. Inside it was alive. Dozens of people moved through long stone halls. Women carried baskets. Men sharpened swords. Children laughed near a fireplace. Everyone stopped when they saw Elara. One by one they bowed. No one spoke. The silence made her uneasy. The old woman led her into a warm room. A fire burned in the corner. She placed food on a table. Sit. Elara carefully laid the baby on a blanket. The old woman's eyes softened. The prince is beautiful. Elara looked up sharply. You know who he is too. I know many things. Who are you? The woman smiled. My name is Miriam. How do you know me? Miriam sat beside the fire. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she looked into Elara's eyes. Because I carried you in my arms when you were a child. The room became very still. Elara's heart pounded. What? You were only 2 years old when the Moon Kingdom burned. The words hit her like a storm. Memories flashed through her mind. A woman singing. Bright palace. Silver curtains moving in the wind. Then fire. Smoke. Screams. She suddenly grabbed the edge of the table. You knew my parents. I served them. Tears filled Miriam's eyes. Your mother was our queen. Elara could barely breathe. All her life she had been nobody. Poor healer. An orphan. Now this woman was telling her that she had once been a princess. Miriam reached into her robe and pulled out a small silver crown. It was delicate and beautiful. Moonstones sparkled across its surface. This belonged to your mother. Elara touched it with shaking fingers. The moment she did, a strange warmth spread through her body. The silver mark on her wrist burst into light. The room glowed. Wind rushed through the chamber though the windows were closed. The flames danced wildly. Miriam smiled. The blood of the Moon Queens has awakened. The light slowly faded. Elara stared at her hands. What is happening to me? You have magic. No. Yes. Miriam's voice was calm. Every ruler of the Moon Kingdom carried moon magic. I know nothing about magic. You will. The baby suddenly woke and began to cry. Elara quickly picked him up. The child looked into her eyes. Then he smiled. A tiny beautiful smile. Something changed inside her. The fear began to fade. This child depended on her. She could not break. She would not. Days turned into months. Months turned into years. The hidden monastery became her home. She learned the truth. The monastery was not a monastery at all. It was the last refuge of the Moon Kingdom. The survivors had hidden there for years, waiting, hoping, praying that their lost princess would return. And now she had. Elara trained every day. She learned to fight with a sword. She learned to ride. She learned history. She learned magic. Silver light obeyed her hands. She could heal wounds, create shields, call moonfire from the sky. With every passing year she became stronger. And little Prince Lucian grew beside her. The child was clever, brave, always smiling. He called her mother even though she had never asked him to. The first time he did it she cried. She loved him as if he were her own. 12 years passed like the changing of seasons. The frightened village healer disappeared. In her place stood a queen. Elara now wore silver gowns. A moonstone crown rested upon her dark hair. Strength shone in her silver eyes. No one would mistake her for the poor girl from the village. One afternoon she stood on the highest tower and watched Lucian train. The boy moved across the courtyard with a wooden sword. He was tall for his age. Dark hair. Golden eyes. His father's eyes. He defeated another boy and laughed. The sound filled the air. Miriam stepped beside Elara. He grows stronger every day. Elara smiled. He does. He deserves to know the truth. The smile faded. I know. Lucian believed his father had died long ago. Elara had never found the courage to tell him otherwise. How could she explain that his father was a king who believed they had vanished forever? Suddenly footsteps echoed behind them. A guard approached and bowed deeply. Your Majesty. What is it? The man's face looked troubled. Riders have arrived from the western border. Elara frowned. Who are they? They bring news from the kingdom of wolves. A strange feeling settled inside her chest. The kingdom she had left behind. The kingdom that had hunted her. What news? The guard swallowed. The Alpha King's lands are on the edge of war. Elara slowly turned. What happened? The nobles are fighting among themselves. The man hesitated. Then he spoke again. And there are rumors that the king has never stopped searching for the woman who took his son. Silence. Far below in the courtyard, Lucien laughed again. Elara looked at him. Her heart tightened. 12 years. And fate was finally knocking on her door once more. Then another voice came from below. Mother. Lucien looked up at her with bright golden eyes. Who is my father? The question stole the breath from her lungs. The courtyard became silent. The wooden sword slipped from Lucien's hand and landed softly on the stone. He looked up at Elara. His golden eyes were full of questions. Questions she had feared for 12 long years. He climbed the tower steps 2 at a time and stopped in front of her. Mother. His voice was gentle. Who is my father? Elara could not speak. The wind moved through her dark hair. Far beyond the mountains, the kingdom of wolves waited. The kingdom that had stolen everything from this child. Lucien smiled sadly. Everyone else knows. She looked at him. I can see it in their faces. Miriam quietly stepped away and left them alone. The afternoon sun painted the courtyard in gold. Lucien stood taller than most boys his age. Strong. Proud. So much like his father that it sometimes hurt to look at him. I never wanted to lie to you. I know. Everything I did was to protect you. He nodded. But I deserve the truth. Tears burned in her eyes. She had hidden this moment for so long. Yet she knew it could not be avoided forever. She took a slow breath. Your father is alive. Lucien did not move. Who is he? She looked directly into his eyes. He is the Alpha King. The world seemed to stop. A bird flew across the sky. Somewhere below a horse neighed. Lucien simply stared at her. Then he whispered. The King of Wolves. She nodded. He looked away. The silence stretched between them. Finally he spoke. Does he know about me? Question hurt. No. Why? She swallowed hard. Because the night you were born people believed I had kidnapped you. His face changed. You stole me. No. Her voice broke. I saved you. She told him everything. The ravine. The white wolf. Queen. The attack. Promise. The long escape through the snow. Lucien listened without saying a word. When she finished, the sun had already begun to set. He stood quietly for a long time. Then he asked the question she feared most. Did my father want me? Her heart shattered. She stepped toward him. He loved you before you were even born. Then why did he never come? Because he thought you were gone. Lucien lowered his head. For the first time since she had known him, he looked like a little boy. Lost. Confused. Then he looked at her again. Will I ever meet him? Elara did not answer. Because she suddenly realized there was only one path left. The kingdom of wolves was falling apart. The prince deserved the truth. And she could not hide forever. That night she could not sleep. She stood alone on the palace balcony and watched the moon. Footsteps approached behind her. Miriam joined her. You have made your decision. It was not a question. Elara smiled faintly. You always know. Miriam looked toward the mountains. The kingdom needs its prince. And he needs his father. Silence settled between them. Then Miriam spoke softly. You need answers too. Elara closed her eyes. 12 years had passed. Yet one question still haunted her. Who had murdered her family? Who had cursed Queen Selene? Who had destroyed 2 kingdoms? The answer waited in the kingdom of wolves. She opened her eyes. We are going back. Miriam smiled. I knew you would. 3 days later the hidden kingdom came alive. Warriors prepared horses. Servants packed supplies. Silver banners bearing the crescent moon rose into the wind. Lucien stood in shining armor. He looked both excited and nervous. Are we truly leaving? Elara adjusted his cloak. Yes. He grinned. I always wanted an adventure. She laughed softly. The sound surprised her. There had been little laughter in her life. Perhaps this journey would change everything. Or destroy everything. By sunrise they rode through the mountain pass. A long line of warriors followed. For the first time in 12 years the lost princess returned to the world. Days later the towers of the Wolf Kingdom appeared on the horizon. Elara slowed her horse. The sight stole her breath. Nothing had changed. The forests were the same. The mountains were the same. But she was no longer the frightened healer who had fled into the snow. She was Queen Elara of the Moon Kingdom. The gates of the capital slowly opened. People filled the streets. They stared at the silver banners. Whispers spread through the crowd. A queen from a forgotten kingdom had arrived. At the palace entrance a group of guards waited. And among them stood Commander Darius. Time had added a few lines to his face. Nothing more. His eyes widened. For a moment he forgot how to breathe. You! Elara smiled softly. Hello, Darius. He looked as though he had seen a ghost. Then his gaze moved to Lucian. The boy sat proudly on his horse. Golden eyes. Dark hair. The blood drained from Darius's face. The prince. Lucian looked confused. You know me. Darius could not answer. He dropped to one knee. Every guard followed him. The courtyard became silent. Elara's heart pounded. A deep voice suddenly echoed from the palace doors. What is happening here? The voice she had not heard for 12 years. The voice she had never forgotten. Alpha King Kale Draven stepped outside. He wore black armor. His hair was longer now. A few silver strands touched his temples. But his golden eyes remained the same. Powerful. Dangerous. He looked toward the visitors. Then he froze. His eyes found Elara. The world seemed to disappear. Neither of them moved. Neither of them breathed. 12 years vanished in a heartbeat. Recognition slowly filled his face. Impossible recognition. He took one step forward. Then another. Elara. Her name sounded like a memory. Like a wound that had never healed. She climbed down from her horse. For a long moment they simply looked at each other. Then his gaze shifted. Toward the boy standing beside her. Lucian. The prince looked curiously at the king. Their eyes met. Golden eyes looking into golden eyes. The same eyes. The same face. The same blood. Kale slowly turned pale. His lips parted. No sound came out. Lucian looked at Elara. Then back at the king. And with complete innocence he asked the question that changed everything. Mother. He pointed at Kale. Is this my father? Silence fell over the palace courtyard. No one moved. No one breathed. The words hung in the air like thunder. Is this my father? Kale stared at the boy. The dark hair. At the golden eyes that looked exactly like his own. His face slowly lost all color. The world around him seemed to disappear. 12 years. 12 long years. He had searched forests. Sent warriors across distant lands. Questioned travelers and merchants. Every winter he had returned to the ravine where everything had begun. Every year he had stood there and wondered if his son had survived. And now the child was standing before him. Alive. Looking directly at him. The king's hands trembled. Very slowly he stepped forward. Lucian did not move. He looked curious rather than afraid. Kale stopped only a few steps away. His eyes filled with emotions too deep for words. You are my son. His voice was barely a whisper. Lucian looked at Elara. She nodded softly. The boy turned back toward the king. A strange smile slowly appeared on his face. I always wondered if I looked like my father. Kale gave a broken laugh. A laugh filled with pain. You do. Silence returned. Then the king did something no one expected. He fell to his knees. The mighty Alpha King. The ruler feared by every kingdom. Kneeling before a 12-year-old boy. Tears filled his eyes. I am sorry. Lucian blinked. For what? For not being there. The boy's smile faded. You did not know. Cale closed his eyes. No, I did not. When he opened them again they were full of grief. He looked at Elara. And all the old memories returned. The snow. Baby. The queen's death. The night he let her disappear into the darkness. I failed both of you. Elara's heart tightened. She had imagined this moment many times. Anger. Accusations. Hatred. Instead she saw a broken man. A man who had been mourning for 12 years. Before anyone could speak, another voice echoed across the courtyard. What is the meaning of this? An elegant woman walked down the palace steps. She wore a dark red gown. Silver jewels sparkled around her neck. Her face was beautiful, but her eyes were cold. Lady Morgana Voss, the most powerful noble in the kingdom. Elara had never met her. Yet the moment she saw the woman, a strange chill crawled down her spine. Morgana looked at Lucian, then at Elara. Her smile disappeared. You said the child was dead. The words escaped before she could stop them. Cale slowly stood. His eyes narrowed. What did you say? Morgana's face changed. Only for a second. Then the smile returned. I mean, we all believed the prince was dead. The courtyard became very quiet. Elara watched her carefully. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Morgana looked at Lucian again. There was fear in her eyes. Teeny. Almost hidden. But it was there. Then she looked at Elara. And who are you? I am Queen Elara of the Moon Kingdom. The woman suddenly became still. A strange expression crossed her face. Recognition. Impossible recognition. It vanished as quickly as it had come. Interesting. Morgana said softly. Cale looked at the guards. No one will disturb us. The order was clear. The crowd slowly left. Soon only a few people remained. Elara, Lucian, Darius, and Morgana. The king turned toward Elara. I need the truth. She nodded. Then she told him everything. The monastery. The hidden kingdom. The years of hiding. The prince growing up. The moon magic. She left nothing unsaid. Cale listened in complete silence. When she finished, his face looked pale. You protected him all this time. Yes. And you never once tried to use him against me. No. The king looked away. Shame filled his eyes. I believed you had stolen my son. You had every reason to. No. His voice became rough. I should have trusted you. The words surprised her. Cale slowly looked back at her. You saved my queen. He swallowed hard. You protected my child. Another painful silence followed. And I let you carry this burden alone. Regret covered his face. The sight almost made her pity him. Almost. Suddenly Darius stepped forward. There is something else you should know. Everyone looked at him. He took a deep breath. I never told you everything about that night. Cale frowned. What do you mean? Darius looked at Morgana, then back at the king. I found something after the attack. He pulled a small object from his pocket. A silver ring. Morgana's face turned white. Cale took the ring. His expression darkened. This belongs to the royal council. Yes. Where did you find it? In the cabin where the queen died. Silence. Then Darius looked directly at Morgana. And there is only one person on the council who wears this design. No one moved. Morgana slowly smiled. Cold smile. You dare accuse me? I accuse no one. Darius's voice remained calm. I only speak the truth. Morgana's eyes became dangerous. You forget your place. And you forget mine. The tension in the courtyard thickened. Lucian moved closer to Elara. He could feel it too. Something terrible was happening. Cale looked at Morgana. Did you know about this? Her expression softened. You cannot possibly believe I harmed Celine. The queen's name sounded strange coming from her lips. Almost false. You loved her. Morgana continued. I mourned her beside you. The king said nothing. Morgana stepped closer. I stood by your side for 12 years. Then she pointed toward Elara. And now this woman appears from nowhere with a boy and a story. Her words were calm, reasonable, dangerous. The old doubts flickered in Cale's eyes. Elara saw them. And her heart sank. At that exact moment a scream echoed through the palace. Everyone turned. A servant came running across the courtyard. His face was filled with terror. Your Majesty. What is it? The prince. Cale frowned. The prince is here. The servant shook his head violently. No. His voice trembled. The prince has been taken. Elara looked beside her. Her blood turned cold. Lucien was gone. For one terrible second nobody moved. The place where Lucien had been standing was empty. His cloak lay on the stone floor. Nothing else. Elara's heart stopped. Lucien. Her voice came out as a whisper. Then she screamed his name. The sound echoed through the palace. Cale's eyes turned bright gold. A low growl rose from his chest. Close the gates. The order exploded across the courtyard. Guards ran in every direction. Horns sounded from the towers. The entire palace came alive. Elara picked up Lucien's fallen cloak. Her hands trembled. She had protected him for 12 years. 12 years. And he had been taken the moment they returned. This was not an accident. Someone had been waiting. Someone knew exactly who the boy was. She slowly lifted her head. Her eyes found Lady Morgana. The noblewoman looked shocked. Too shocked. Her face had become pale. But her eyes were calm. Far too calm. The same cold feeling from earlier returned. Elara took a step toward her. You knew. Morgana frowned. What are you saying? You knew he was here. Do not be ridiculous. Another step. You knew exactly who he was. The woman laughed softly. A dangerous laugh. Grief is making you foolish. Cale suddenly looked at Morgana. The ring still rested in his hand. The ring found beside Celine's body. His face darkened. Where is my son? Morgana looked offended. You think I would harm the prince? I asked a question. For the first time a hint of fear entered her eyes. The Alpha King was no longer a grieving father. He looked like a predator. A deadly one. I know nothing about this. Cale stepped closer. Then why are you afraid? She opened her mouth. No words came. Silence spread across the courtyard. Then Darius spoke. I searched the old battle records. Everyone turned toward him. I found something hidden. He pulled a worn piece of parchment from his coat. The night Queen Celine disappeared, a secret letter was sent from the palace. Cale frowned. To whom? Darius looked directly at Morgana. To the men who attacked her. The world seemed to stop. Morgana's face lost all color. Cale slowly turned toward her. No. The word came from her lips. I can explain. The king's voice became terrifyingly calm. Explain. Her hands began to shake. I never wanted Celine dead. Silence. Elara could barely breathe. Morgana looked around wildly. I only wanted the child removed. Another silence. Even the wind seemed to stop. Cale stared at her. His eyes looked empty. You tried to kill my son. No. You hunted my queen. Tears filled Morgana's eyes. I loved you. The words echoed across the courtyard. Nobody moved. For years rumors had spread that Lady Morgana wished to become the king's mate. Now she had confessed it before everyone. I loved you, she said again. You never looked at me. Cale's face became hard as stone. You murdered my family. I wanted to save you. Save me. She nodded desperately. Celine made you weak. A growl rumbled through the king's chest. The sound made everyone step back. Morgana suddenly looked at Elara. And then she came. Hatred filled her eyes. The lost princess. Elara froze. You knew. Morgana laughed softly. I knew from the moment I saw your face. She stepped backward. I killed your parents too. The words struck like lightning. The courtyard became silent. Elara forgot how to breathe. Morgana's smile widened. The Moon Kingdom burned beautifully. Tears filled Elara's eyes. You! Yes! You murdered them. I destroyed everyone who stood between me and power. A terrible ache spread through Elara's chest. Her parents, her kingdom, Queen Selene, everything. This woman had stolen everything. Kale's face darkened. You will pay for this. Morgana suddenly laughed. A wild broken laugh. You are too late. She raised her hand. A silver whistle appeared between her fingers. She blew into it. A sharp sound pierced the air. Then screams erupted from outside the palace. One guard came running into the courtyard. Your Majesty. His face was white. The prince. Kale moved forward. What about him? We found him. Relief flashed through Elara. Then the guard continued. He has been taken to the old northern tower. Morgana smiled. And if anyone enters, he dies. The relief vanished. The king's face became deadly. You used my son as a shield. Morgana looked strangely calm now. I have nothing left to lose. She looked directly at Elara. Come with me alone and the boy lives. No, Kale roared. Morgana ignored him. You know I speak the truth. Elara's heart pounded. The woman was dangerous, desperate, and desperate people did terrible things. She looked at Kale. Then at the tower rising above the palace. Lucian was there, waiting, afraid. Without another word she started walking. Kale grabbed her arm. You are not going. He is my son. He is our son. The words hung between them. For the first time he had said it. Our son. His voice broke. I already lost him once. Elara looked into his eyes. The grief there was unbearable. Then she gently touched his hand. You will not lose him again. She pulled away. Morgana smiled and turned toward the tower. The climb felt endless. Stone steps, cold walls, darkness. At the top waited a large room with broken windows. Moonlight spilled across the floor. Lucian sat in the center. His hands were tied. A knife rested against his throat. A masked man held him. The moment Lucian saw her, his eyes filled with relief. Mother! I am here. Morgana closed the door behind them. You came. Let him go. She laughed. You are brave. Elara stepped closer. Take me instead. No. Morgana's smile faded. You do not understand. She looked toward the moon. I spent my entire life wanting a crown. Silence. But destiny chose others. She looked back at Elara. Queens. Then toward Lucian. Princes. Tears filled her eyes. I was never chosen. For the first time Elara saw the truth. Morgana was not only cruel. She was broken. Consumed by jealousy. Consumed by bitterness. You could have had a family. Elara said softly. Morgana shook her head. I wanted a throne. The room became quiet. Then she slowly raised a dagger. If I cannot have it, then no one will. Lucian's eyes widened. The masked man tightened his grip. And suddenly the silver mark on Elara's wrist burst into light. Silver light exploded through the tower. The room shook. The windows burst open and cold wind rushed inside. Morgana stumbled backward. The masked man cried out and released Lucian. A wall of glowing silver fire appeared between the boy and the dagger. Elara stared at her hands. Light poured from her skin. The mark on her wrist burned like a star. Lucian looked at her with wide eyes. Mother! She could barely hear him. A voice echoed inside her mind. Ancient. Antle. Awaken. The silver flames rose higher. Morgana's face turned white. No. She took another step back. No, this cannot be happening. Elara slowly lifted her head. Her silver eyes shone brightly. Memories flooded her mind. A beautiful palace beneath the moon. A woman wearing a silver crown. A man lifting a little girl into his arms. Laughter. Warmth. Love. Then fire. Screams. Blood. Morgana standing among the flames. The truth hit her like lightning. She remembered everything. She remembered her parents. She remembered her kingdom. And she remembered the woman who had destroyed it all. You! Her voice trembled. You killed them. Morgana looked terrified. You were supposed to die. Tears filled Elara's eyes. You murdered my mother. You were only a child. You murdered my father. Morgana suddenly screamed. They stood in my way. The room fell silent. The confession echoed against the stone walls. Lucien slowly stood. His face had become pale. The masked man tried to run. A burst of silver light threw him across the room. He crashed into the wall and did not move again. Morgana stared at Elara. Fear spread across her face. You are the Moon Queen. Title sounded strange. Yet deep inside her heart she knew it was true. She was no longer the lost healer. No longer the frightened girl from the village. She was the daughter of a fallen kingdom. The last queen of the Moon bloodline. The tower door burst open. Cale rushed inside with Darius and several guards. The moment he saw the silver light he stopped. His golden eyes widened. Elara stood in the center of the room like a living moon. Her dark hair floated around her. Silver flames danced at her feet. She looked powerful, beautiful, untouchable. Cale could not breathe. He had seen warriors and kings. He had seen magic. But nothing like this. Lucien ran into his father's arms. Cale immediately held him tightly. For a long moment he simply closed his eyes. His son was safe. His son was alive. Then he looked at Elara again. Morgana suddenly laughed. A broken, desperate laugh. You are all fools. Everyone turned toward her. She wiped the tears from her face. You still do not know the truth. Cale frowned. What truth? Morgana smiled. A queen can have many secrets. She looked directly at Elara. Ask him about the moon goddess. Silence filled the room. Cale became very still. Morgana saw it and smiled wider. You never told her. Elara looked between them. What is she talking about? The king said nothing. Morgana's eyes gleamed. The Alpha King has another secret. Enough. Cale growled. Oh no, she whispered. The truth deserves to be heard. She looked at Elara. The night your kingdom burned, the moon goddess made a prophecy. Cale's jaw tightened. Morgana's smile became cruel. The Alpha King was destined to have two great loves. Elara frowned. What? The first would give him an heir. Tears filled Morgana's eyes. The second would save his kingdom. Silence. Then she pointed at Elara. You! The word echoed through the tower. Cale closed his eyes. 4 years he had carried this secret. A prophecy spoken to him when he was a boy. A prophecy he never understood. Not until now. Elara stared at him. You knew. I knew of the prophecy. And you never said anything. I never believed it. The room grew quiet. Then Morgana laughed again. You searched for her for 12 years because your wolf never forgot. The king looked at Elara. She suddenly understood. The black wolf kneeling before her. The strange bond. The feeling that had existed from the beginning. It had never been an accident. Fate had been moving around them all along. Morgana's laughter slowly faded. Her face became empty. She looked tired. Defeated. There is nothing left. She raised the dagger toward herself. No! Elara shouted. But it was too late. Morgana fell to the floor. Silence followed. The woman who had destroyed kingdoms was gone. No cheers came. No celebration. Only sadness. Because hatred had consumed an entire life. The silver flames slowly disappeared. The room became quiet once more. Lucien looked at Elara. Then at Cale. He smiled softly. So this means I have both a mother and a father now. A laugh escaped Darius. Then another. Soon everyone smiled. Even Kale. Tears shone in his eyes. He walked toward Elara. For a moment neither of them spoke. Then he slowly knelt before her. The mighty Alpha King bowed his head. I was wrong. She stared at him. I doubted you. His voice broke. I let you carry our son alone. A tear slipped down his face. I cannot change the past. Silence. But if there is any place left in your heart for forgiveness, then I will spend the rest of my life earning it. The room became very still. Lucian looked between them, waiting. Elara looked at the man before her. The king who had once let her disappear into the snow. The father who had mourned his son for 12 years. The man fate had tied to her life. Slowly she reached out her hand. Kale looked up. She touched his face. You do not need to earn forgiveness. His breath caught. We have both suffered enough. Tears filled his eyes. Then a warm light filled the tower. Everyone looked toward the broken windows. Moonlight poured inside. A beautiful woman appeared within it. Her silver hair shone like stars. The moon goddess. Every person in the room fell to their knees. Her gentle gaze settled on Kale and Elara. Then she smiled. The kingdoms are healed. She looked at Lucian. The heir has returned. Then back at Elara. My lost queen has come home. Tears filled Elara's eyes. The goddess raised her hand. Silver light surrounded the three of them. You were never meant to walk alone. The light grew brighter. Then she spoke the final words of the prophecy. Together you will build a kingdom where neither moon nor wolf stands above the other. The light slowly faded. The goddess disappeared. Silence remained. Then Lucian laughed softly. A child's happy laugh. He took Kale's hand. Then Elara's. And placed them together. Outside the tower the first rays of dawn touched the kingdom. A new day had begun. And for the first time in many years the Alpha King was no longer alone. Neither was the lost princess. And neither was the child who had once been carried through a snowstorm in his mother's arms.